Shout out to G-Man Boxing. Where's the piss bottle? It's over there.
Alright, before I get into this video, two things I want to talk about very, very quickly. I'll just do it at the start of this. So have a look there on screen. That is from a guy called Fred. Fred's channel is called Fred Talks Fighting. Me and him he did an interview with me there last week. And, great channel, great little interviewer. And very interesting topics he was asking me. And we talked a bit about boxing, but he was also kind of talking about the channel more so as well, which I really enjoyed actually. And if anyone wants to know the story about how I got started on YouTube, because I don't think I've ever told anyone the full story. If you want to go, I'm not going to tell you here, go and watch that video. I'll pin it in the comment section, as well as a little plug. I got to plug a little business who've been very good to me, and I'm returning the favour. I'm plugging them. So, look, we all know Christmas is coming up. I know, I'm plugging businesses now moving up in the world. But we all know Christmas is coming. Have a look there on screen. That is a company called Wild Design. They do excellent items. They do a lot of utensils for around the house, candles, pictures, paintings, etc. Scented oils. Very good deals, very good specials on. Deliver to the UK, deliver anywhere in the world. Have a look at their website. I will also pin that in the comment section. They've been very good to me, so I'm returning the favour. If you're looking, if you're struggling, if you're buying Christmas presents, look no further. Wild Design, link to their website in the description. Now, let's get into this. People, review of the week time. Oh boy, there's been where do I even start? The fights last night, the Sean Porter fight, the Spence, Crawford, Sky card last night, so much. Let's talk about what's fresh in the mind. Sean Porter, Terence Crawford, Sean Porter retirement. That fight was good. That was the fight that Terence Crawford really needed. It's definitely the best name, in my opinion, on his record. Sean Porter is now officially, he's retired. There's been a lot of people talk about the stoppage. Look, I already touched on that in my post-fight. But what I will say about Sean Porter as a whole is he has amassed a hell of a career. Good resume. Even though he's lost a couple of fights, he's only lost to the best of the best at the time. And if you think about it like this, every fighter he fought them at the peak of their powers. Kell Brook fought him at the peak of Kell Brook's powers in my opinion. Thurman definitely, because Thurman, I think there was a time, maybe it was even at the start of this year, where they were talking about having a Thurman versus Porter rematch. Keith Thurman should be glad that never happened, because Keith Thurman, for me, even though he didn't retire, one time he was gone after the Danny Garcia fight, and God knows what he's going to do. 2 years. Keith Thurman, I used to be so, I know it's going a bit off top, but I used to be so high on Keith Thurman, back in 2013, 2014. I really thought that this was the next big, maybe not dominant welterweight, but he would be the cream of the crop. And the problem is, he could have been, but inactivity, injuries, it's just a shame. I was always a big fan and a big believer in Keith Thurman. And if he comes back now, he's already had 2 years out of the ring before. Another 2 years? No, man. I just so disappointed in the way he's going. It's not like he was old. I think he was still in his 20s by the time he fought Pacquiao, if not very early 30s. So yeah, Thurman's not been easy over the last few years to be, a follower of his. But Sean Porter actually quoted, I'm actually going to get the quote for you here, what he said here, just give me a second, I'll bring it up. Yeah, he said on this, I felt like the fight with Errol, going 12 rounds, was not as tough as fighting Crawford. That's very interesting. Now, Errol Spence and Sean Porter, for my money, they didn't appear to have any animosity. You know the way some people will always say it, if there's a bit of animosity towards a certain fighter, they'll just say, oh, he was definitely better, because they don't like that fighter, or it was harder fighting him, that sort of way. But with Sean Porter saying Crawford's an excellent fighter. Make no mistake about it, Terence Bud Crawford is an excellent fighter. And I said it in my post-fight review, that with Errol Spence, you've someone who is physical on the inside, who has decent punching power, not anything crazy in terms of the speed department. He's everything well without doing anything amazingly. With Crawford, you're getting great punching power. I think he is a good puncher. Great speed, good timing, powerful jab, switching it up, can fight on the inside. Terence Crawford is a fantastic fighter, and I really wish that we'd got that Errol Spence fight, as I said, sooner. We might get it next year. Errol Spence says that he thought that the stoppage was too early, in his opinion, but I did see him as well. I'll read that one now in a sec. But yes, he said he's back in the gym, eyeing a return to the ring in March. Well, that's good to know. I hope that does happen with Errol Spence. Sean Porter, this is what he said on the Key Tournament fight, or the Sean Porter fight. I thought his daddy stopped it way too early. He's a warrior, let him fight. He wore the Marvin Hagler S, let him fight. Going back to that stoppage, look, I've given my 2 cents on it. I can see where Kenny Porter was coming from by stopping it. Crawford is a very good finisher, and he is. When he gets someone hurt, how often does Crawford let them off the hook? Very rarely. Extremely rarely. Crawford is a very, very good finisher. No matter who he's against, he closes the show. So I suspect possibly that it was just Kenny Porter could maybe see what was going to happen, and he just decided, you know what, no, enough's been enough. And at that stage then, with 2 knockdowns in the 10th round, in a fight that was fairly nip and tuck, was close, that probably would have seen him lose, more than likely, if he'd kept going. Saying that, some people like to be able to, it's a moral victory to be able to go 12 rounds, I get that, but look, there's that. Terence Crawford obviously is now a free agent, so yeah, I suspect PBC Al Heyman is the next move for Terence Crawford. I don't know, will they do the Errol Spence fight straight away? They might very well do if he does go to PBC. Wouldn't shock me if both guys have interim fights. In fact, I think Errol Spence probably would take the interim fight just to be on the safe side. Wouldn't shock me if they fought next, but I'd say probably both guys will take interim fights between then. You got to question is, like, I've seen people say Boots Ennis is an interim fight for Terence Crawford. I don't think they'll put him in with anyone like Boots Ennis, nor will they put Errol Spence in with someone like that. Boots Ennis is up for it, but I just think if there's a good chance we'll get Crawford versus Spence next year, which I hope we do, you wouldn't want to risk them against guys like that. Now that's to say, I would pick Crawford over Boots, to be honest, which I think Crawford is fantastic, but they'll probably just put him in with 2 kind of gimme fights, and then hopefully next summer we could see them both in a big fight. And I really hope we do. I love watching Terence Crawford. I love watching Errol Spence. That fight to me is just so... Oh man, like I'm kind of still thinking about the Errol Spence from a couple of years ago, but I'm sure Errol Spence is still a good fighter. As I said, it's the eye injuries what I worry about kind of a lot, because eye injuries are not straightforward. You have some fighters who have eye injuries like detached retinas, and it could be early on in their career, and it's just that's the end of it. So I do worry about Errol Spence coming back, that I hope nothing does aggravate the injury, and that I hope he's able to get through a camp okay and we still see a good fighter. Obviously, we're going to move on. We'll talk about... I want to talk, before I actually move on, there was a fight on that undercard. Isaac Dogboe against Christopher Diaz. Christopher Diaz won that fight, in my opinion. I didn't do a review on it, but I seen it. Christopher Diaz won that fight, in my opinion. I actually picked Christopher Diaz to win that fight because I actually picked him to win it on split decision. It was a majority win for Isaac Dogboe. Dogboe has not looked at all himself since that he won the title off Jesse Magdaleno, since the Emmanuel Navarrete fight. He has not looked at all himself since then. And again, I think that I thought he was very fortunate to get the decision, very fortunate against Christopher Diaz. Christopher Diaz could feel a bit hard done by, in my opinion. I actually mentioned Emmanuel Navarrete there. There was news about him, which I'll try and get for you here. Believe he's moving up to 130 pounds, and potentially it could be him against Oscar Valdez next. I'm just trying to find the article where it actually says that, because I'm sure I seen reports of that during the week. Well, this is interesting, actually. I was actually just looking to see the reports of it, but actually it says here that he's also a free agent from Top Rank, which I didn't know. I'm only just seeing that there. But it also is saying in the next breath that Oscar Valdez will defend his WBC Super Featherweight World title against Emmanuel Navarrete next, which is bizarre. They're both saying that 2 days ago, which is bizarre. Now, I knew there was talk about that, but Oscar Valdez versus Navarrete. Navarrete has moved up very quickly through the weights, hasn't he? He won that world title originally from Isaac Dogboe at 122 pounds, super bantamweight. Went to featherweight pretty much straight after the title defense, maybe a fight after, and now he's at super feather against Oscar Valdez. Oscar Valdez looked very shaky in his last fight, very shaky. So I love watching Navarrete fight. He's a very good fighter, and he's one of them fighters who he came in as kind of unknown, one loss. People thought Dogboe would take him out at the time, and he showed that he can really, really fight. So that's a good little scrap. That would probably when would they probably get that fight on early next year, I'd hope. But that's a very good fight if and when it takes place. It's just I'm just curious why it says that he's a free agent, but yet top rank. But maybe it's just maybe he's going to work with Arm on a fight by fight basis. Who knows? Maybe it's just a once off. He'll take that title and go elsewhere. Who knows? But that's what they're saying there. We'll look at the cards that happened last night. Okay, so the Sky card that was on, Natasha Jonas made a return to winning ways following on from the Katie Taylor loss. That was very sudden. She signed with Boxer only about a week or so ago, and there was no mention of her fighting anytime soon, but she's obviously she went out last night and got a win. Her signing with Boxer, I mean, I remember when she was meant to fight on the Liam Smith Anthony Fowler card, and I 100% sided with Eddie Hearn on this one, and I still do, because I think it was ludicrous from Joe Gallagher if this was the case, where Eddie Hearn basically said, because she was meant to fight on that card, they ended up pulling it. Eddie Hearn said in several interviews the reason why is because they had a plan worked out that they would give her a fight, against the kind of a give me opponent, sort of way, like a give me opponent, someone who has been in there with the likes of Katie Taylor, I think Chantel Cameron and someone like that, people like that who've already been to the UK, lost, while these fighters like Katie Taylor were on their way up. And they were going to try and push Tash Jonas in with someone like that, and then have a Katie Taylor rematch some stage in December. That was the plan for Eddie Hearn. And apparently Joe Gallagher said, okay, but we want literally like an opponent who was like 1-11. But they wanted the exact same money that they would have got for the original opponent. And Eddie Hearn was like, no, that's not going to happen. The deal was you're fighting this opponent for this amount, yes, or in around that level, yes, but not this low. And I can see 100% where Eddie Hearn's coming from with that. Because it's like, why am I overpaying you for an easy night's work? Because that doesn't make sense to me from a business point of view. Why would you pay someone X amount of money if you have, like, this is the opponent we want, this is how much you're getting paid, but you want this opponent down here but to be paid the same? And apparently it all kicked off. So Joe Gallagher is burning bridges left, right and centre with people. He really truly is. I mean, he had issues with Eddie Hearn last year. I don't know how him and Frank Warren are, but Joe Gallagher really sticks his head in it sometimes, I think. But Natasha Jonas is back out with Sky. She said anyone from 130 to 147. Who does Sky have in around that weight division, like in terms of champions? Like Katie Taylor obviously at lightweight. You have Bumgardner at 130. Stay away from her. She's a very good fighter. Stay away from her if you're Natasha Jonas. And obviously she's not undisputed. There's more other titles at that weight, but she'd be the main kind of fighter at that weight. Yeah, it's an interesting one, but look, we'll see how it goes with her on Sky. Maxwell Lawler, this is how you pronounce it. He was meant to fight Stephen Ward. That's the second time that fight's been pulled at the last minute. But he got a nice highlight reel knockout against Leonardo Damian Brussels. That was a good knockout. That was a very, very heavy knockout. These cruiserweights can punch, make no mistake about it. Richard Riakporhe had a fight against Ola Duradola. I watched that. I didn't do a review on it because Ola Duradola, 41 years old, was a very good little contender a couple of years ago. I remember his fight with Kudryashov, the first fight, because they fought twice, on the undercard of Povetkin versus Vac. And that was a really, really good display. Like, he showed tremendous heart because he was hurt early in that fight. Came back in the second round to stop Kudryashov. That was the first loss on Kudryashov's resume. It was really watching that fight last night I realised that fight was ever such a long time ago. 6 years. It was ever such a long time ago. And Ola Duradola looked every bit as 41 years of age. He didn't seem to want to be interested at all. And Richard Riakporhe got a good win. I mean, like, with Riakporhe, they're talking about bringing him up to world level, and like he is a good fighter, but like that doesn't tell you anything, because Ola Duradola was beyond washed. He was extremely poor. That to me didn't really tell me anything. You know, there was moments where Riakporhe looked okay, but then I was like, Duradola could have looked less like he'd given a you know what, and was just looking to kind of, I don't want to say get a way out, but he just seemed so disinterested. It just didn't seem like he had anything left. So that was that. Florian Marku, obviously I done a review on him. Louis Tete, that was he had the place hopping. I mean, for a guy to be in an 8-rounder, it was like it had almost a world title feel to it. And that's just a fairly standard 8-rounder. I mean, it's crazy the support Florian Marku has from the Albanian fans. He is a likeable character. His style is fun enough to watch. So he's been talking about doing a stadium in Albania in the new year. I mean, like, he could. I mean, could you just imagine Florian Marku having a world title fight in Albania? I mean, that would fill. I don't know what their national stadium is and how big it is, but if it's X amount, he'd fill it. It's crazy. Obviously, there's one fight I missed from last night that I haven't talked about yet, which I saved it till last because, in my opinion, it was the performance of the night, bar none. And it was Dan Aziz versus Jose Burton. Now, I actually picked Dan Aziz going into this in my prediction league. I actually picked him to win by a unanimous decision. I thought Jose Burton, maybe, he's not been looking good at all as of late. You know, he really hasn't, even prior to the fight with Bolotniks, which he lost last year. He's not been looking good as of late. He really, truly hasn't. And I kind of thought to myself, Dan Aziz has looked good in certain fights, but never looked great. So he should be fresher, have a little bit more in the tank, and just be a little bit too physical for Jose Burton. And he'll get by on points. Burton will have success, but he'll lose this fight on points in a competitive fight. That's what I thought would happen. Nope. Well, Dan Aziz fought brilliantly. He really, truly did. I was massively impressed. Jose Burton looked absolutely lost in there. He looked like a fish out of water. You know, he was getting... Dan Aziz couldn't miss with the right hand. He was just bullying Jose Burton. Because Jose Burton is such a big unit, certainly at light heavyweight. He's 6'4". He's big for that weight. Like, you don't see many of the guys weighing about 6'4". He's very big for that weight. And, you know, he was just bullying him around the ring. He boxed very well in patches in that fight. You know, his defense was good. His physical strength was good. I was just changing the card there. His physical strength was good. Punching power looked good. Close to show and style. Burton couldn't have looked any worse in this fight if he tried. But saying that, Dan Aziz, fantastic. Called out all the light heavyweights in the division. Callum Johnson, who I'm going to talk about now in a sec. Anthony Yard, Lyndon Arthurs, Joshua Buatsi, Callum Smith even. Well, we can add Dan Aziz to that name now, because I was massively impressed with Dan Aziz in this fight. Massively impressed. So credit to him. I left him till last talk about because I felt he was the performance of the night. Before I talk about Friday's card, Callum Johnson, I only mentioned him. Him against Joe Smith Jr. in January of next year. Ah, man. I would have rather have seen Joe Smith Jr. against Artur Beterbiev in a unification, or Maxim Vlasov in a rematch, because the first fight was extremely controversial in my opinion. It was competitive, you know, it was close, but Vlasov should have got the nod. He really should have. I've watched that fight back twice since the time, back in April, and I think at the time I was like, but then since subsequent viewing I've been like, no, Vlasov got that fight. He did enough to win. He should be world champion, which is why I was so looking forward to the Joshua Buatsi fight. Oh, it's coming. Just you wait. I'll talk about that now in a sec. But yeah, him against Callum Johnson. Callum Johnson hasn't looked good as of late. He's been very inactive. He's getting on there in age. His last fight, I didn't watch it live, but I watched it a couple of days after. He looked absolutely terrible in that fight. I mean, he really, really, really looked poor. Very poor in that fight. He really, truly did. In terms of other fights that aren't happening now, it's Joshua Buatsi versus Maxim Vlasov is no longer happening. Apparently, Joshua Buatsi is suffering an injured hand. That was such a good fight on paper. I was really looking forward to it. It's a massive step up for Joshua Buatsi if it had taken place. I wonder, will they reschedule it, or will they maybe take a look? Because that was just such a big step up. Like, Maxim Vlasov is a very good fighter, but it's not just that. Joshua Buatsi would have been dwarfed by Maxim. Maxim Vlasov is a cruiserweight, and he campaigned for a long time a cruiserweight, and he weighed in over the cruiserweight limit in a couple of fights. That man is big, strong, hard hitting, good volume puncher as well. That was a big step up, and it would have been so interesting to watch. I do hope they reschedule it in the new year, because I think it's a great fight. It's a dangerous fight. It's a very dangerous fight. Like, I was shocked when they announced that fight. I was like, whoa, calm it down, people. I was like, that's a big step up. I couldn't believe it. It's sad that it's not going to happen, because that card was shaping up to be great. It still is quite a good card now, it has to be said. Lerone Richards in his fight as well. But yeah, I'm disappointed that that's not going to happen anytime soon. Anyway, let's talk about Friday's card, which was the Demetrius Andre Jay Quigley fight. Thomas O'Toole. I'm just talking about all the fights I've seen, because I did watch a couple of them. Thomas O'Toole fought a guy called Mark Malone. Thomas O'Toole from Galway, cruiserweight, only weighs in about 186, so not a particularly big cruiserweight. I wonder, is he going to be going down to light heavyweight? Because normally when you've cruiserweights weighing in at 186, and Malone was 198, when you've cruiserweights weighing in that light, you do wonder, are they going to try and get light heavyweight? See, that's the problem with cruiserweight being such a big discrepancy in weight. And you could be like Isaac Chamberlain, too small for cruiserweight, too big for light heavyweight. But he got a highlight reel knockout. Referee Kevin Hope was hopeless in his stoppage of the fight, because his opponent Mark Maloney took shots that he didn't need to take. Go and watch it. It was a bad knockout. Nelson Perez, I saw the 2 knockdowns in his fight, but I didn't see the full fight. Won it on a 4-round UD. Cal Coe, I didn't see it, but some people said he was very fortunate to get the draw, and that he was having trouble with weight. Didn't see that fight, but I heard about it alright. Dempsey McKean, the Australian, he got a win against Dan Hainsworth. Dempsey McKean has not looked impressive at all so far for me, but maybe that's just me. I haven't been too impressed with him personally. Kelly Reese got a win over Jessica Kamara in a UD for her, or split decision I should say, for her WBA, and then picked the vacant WBO super welterweight, super lightweight world title. She will now meet Chantel Cameron for Undisputed next year. They got the Undisputed done fairly quick. Her against Chantel Cameron. I would favour Chantel Cameron heavily against Kelly Reese. Kelly Reese is a good fighter, but I think Chantel Cameron is just better. I just think she's just better. From what I've seen, she's one of the few female fighters I do enjoy watching, and Chantel Cameron definitely for me is a very good fighter. Akhmadaliev, I struggled with that name the first time, but I think I've got it just there. Akhmadaliev versus Jose Velasquez. Won pretty much every round in that fight. It was a kind of routine-like performance. Akhmadaliev I've been impressed with. I enjoy watching him fight. You know, he's currently now 10-0. There was the big letdown, a big letdown, which was on that card. Which was Julio Cesar Martinez and Mick Williams Ario. I was really looking forward to that fight. Both guys were down in the first round, stopped in the second round from an accidental clash of heads. Oh man. And that fight was going to take off. I got the impression that fight was going to take off, and I was so disappointed with that. Julio Cesar Martinez. I was seeing Chris Andre, where he said that if Sonny Edwards could take the power of Julio Cesar Martinez, he'd give him a good chance to win. Cesar Martinez has been outboxed in fights before. I distinctly remember when he fought Andrew Selby a couple of years back. Now, Andrew Selby's very negative. Andrew Selby was always an excessive mover. He was a runner. You could say Sonny Edwards runs a bit. Sonny Edwards is a lot better than Andrew Selby, and he doesn't. Andrew Selby will literally run for his life around the ring. He was extremely hard to watch, was Andrew Selby, and he was outboxing Martinez until he ended up getting taken out with a body shot. So Martinez can be outboxed at times, but that power is there. It's definitely there for Martinez, so it's always going to be a risk. Demetrius Andre in the main event, Jay Quigley, I've already talked about that in a post-fight review. Clockwork-like performance from Jay Quigley. He did what he needed to do and got Jay Quigley out of there in 2 rounds. One sec. Because I'm talking for the best part of a half hour, I need to take a drink of something. And for anyone wondering what that is, no, it's not alcohol, it's just Lucozade. I like to drink it in the whiskey glass though. Don't ask me why, I just do. But yeah, he got the win over Jay Quigley. Look, move onwards and upwards from there. Hopefully 2022 we can get him in some big fights. I would love to see him against Charlo. I would love to see him against Golovkin. I would love to see him against Munguia. I'd love to see him against all three. Him against... Now, if I was in Team Eubank, and you know where I'm going with this, by the way, Eubank Jr. in his fight. If I was a member of Team Eubank Jr., I would want to keep him as far away from the... I think stylistically, Demetrius Andrade would have a field day with Chris Eubank Jr. I really think they need to keep him as far away from Demetrius Andrade as they can. Demetrius Andrade is an excellent fighter. I really do believe that, and I've said it once, I'll say it again. What's frustrating is that he's not getting these big fights, because I think that'll bring the best out of him. Because I've always said it, I've rated his skill set. So I remember being in gyms, in amateur gyms, and people knew about Demetrius Andrade. They were always like, he's not good. I'm like, he is good. He's a very good fighter, but he's just not fought anyone yet, so we can see how good he is. But from what I've seen from the skill set he has, he's definitely got it. And I was glad he stepped on the gas and got Jay Quigley out of there, because he needed to get them early. He's been doing that too much, hurting guys early and letting them go, letting them off. And he needed to show some more killer instinct. He needed to step on the gas, and I'm glad he did. Obviously not for Jay Quigley. I've nothing against Jay Quigley personally to say, oh, I'm glad he got rid of him so quick. No, but I just feel like we needed to see that instinct come out. So when he hurt Jay Quigley, he was able to go in and get rid of him, which is what I feel he needed to do. So onwards and upwards for Demetrius Andrade. Tim Tszyu fought on Wednesday. He always fights during the week when I'm in work and I can't watch his fights. It's a pain in the you-know-what. But he fought Taki Inoue, who I think he's related to Naomi. I think he's a cousin to his. Very tough. I mean, that guy just... That guy takes it for fun. I mean, he is very crude, very crude. Very tough. I mean, he went 12 rounds at Munguia. Man, he's tough. But Tim Tszyu has now fought Dennis Hogan, done a better job than Munguia. He's now fought Inoue, done a better job than Munguia. He fought someone else as well. Fought Horn, and done a better job on Horn than most. So Tim Tszyu, 154 pounds, watch out, 2022, he's coming. And I think he's going to be an absolute menace at world level. I think he's very, very talented as Tim Tszyu. Extremely, extremely talented. Extremely talented. So let's look at some of the other boxing news. Oh, let's just get this one out there. So, what the hell is the deal with Eubank Jr. Liam Williams? I'm asking you because I don't know. Because on Friday, and this is the thing that irritates me about boxing, on Friday, it was announced that this fight, that Liam Williams is reportedly off, this is according to Mike Hoppinger, suffered an injury and is out with a fight. That was only 2 days after the goddamn press conference. But nothing since. There's never been an official word, yes, it's off. Eubank Jr. released a tweet and he says, please don't tell me after all your something talk, you're trying to weasel your way out of the fight, crying about a training injury. I know, I buried you in a gloves are off interview, labelled you a bottle job, but surely you're not going to bottle it this early. It's still on BoxRec, this fight. It's still listed. I like this fight. I really, 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 really like this fight. I really hope to God that this fight does happen and can happen, because I don't want this to be binned. It's having the press conference and all that jazz and being a few weeks out and it just gets binned. Now maybe they can push it back, but I really do hope, because I seen Garrett D.A. Davis, he tweeted that no, apparently it's all good, and then other people are saying that no, it's not. It's kind of up in the air. It's just crazy. I just don't know what the story is with Eubank Jr. versus Liam Williams. If anyone has any inside knowledge, and I mean that, if anyone, because believe you me, a lot of people watch these videos, if anyone has any inside knowledge, if you could, let me know in the comment section, because I love this. I think this is a great fight, and I just wanted to see it. And I think going up against Sky, or going up against the Zone, Eddie Hearn was trying to say that Algieri versus Ben is a bigger fight. No, it's not. Far from it. He's trying to say it's a 50-50 fight. No, Algieri is about as washed as anything. This is a legit 50-50 fight. My opinion, more 60-40. I'm favouring Eubank, but it's a great fight nonetheless. Liam Williams versus Eubank, brilliant fight. I really, really hope we get this. I really, truly do. In other news, Luis Ortiz versus Charles Martin. January 1st. That's a great way to reel in the new year, just to be fair it is. But yeah, a $40 Fox pay-per-view US card. To my American fans, I believe that's cheaper than a lot of you guys and girls, shout out to Karma, that yous have to pay for. Having said that, it really is like, I mean, it's Charles Martin. He's not fought since Gerald Washington. That was on the Wilder Fury 2 card. And you have Luis Ortiz, who's fought all of 90 seconds since the Deontay Wilder loss 2 years ago. Proper crossroads fight. You know, Charles Martin, where is he? He's got a high enough ranking. Luis Ortiz, 41. And I put inverted commas in that because anyone wants to know how old the pyramids are, go ask Luis Ortiz. He was there when they were built. Seriously, that's how old this guy really is. I mean, 41. I have to laugh when people say, like, yeah, he's only 41. I'm like, well, in Cuban years, what's 41? 50 something? On this card, there's going to be lots of heavyweights, which is good. Frank Sanchez, Carlos Negron. Alright, I'll take that. Gerald Washington. Oh, Jesus. I have nothing against Washington personally, but he's not exactly fun to watch. Versus Alier. Never heard of him. Never heard of him. Victor Vickhurst, who I have heard. I go Kadsidis. Yeah, he's the guy who dropped. He is. He's the guy who dropped a Jagba. I think he's fought a few guys over in the UK. I think he fought Joe Joyce as well. Johnny Rice versus Michael Coffey. It's not Jonathan Rice, no. Well, Michael Coffey lost to Jonathan Rice in his last fight, so he's back out. Other heavyweight news, and I really like this fight. This is a good little fight. Tony Yoka versus Carlos Takam, January 15th in Paris. I like that. That's good matchmaking as well for Tony Yoka. Big things expected of Yoka in this coming year. I really do. He got a good win last time out against Peter Mellis. I only caught the back end of that, but I still, Peter Mellis, I thought that would be a lot more competitive than it was. So yeah, I like watching Tony Yoka fight. I see improvements under Virgil Hunter. I don't know how far he will go, but I do think he will. I think there's people who just have a lot of doubts about Yoka and think, oh, he's not this, he's not that. I think he'll go far. Do I think he'll dominate? No. Do I think he can pick up a version of a title when some of these guys like the Furies, Joshua's, Wilders retire? Potentially, yes. I think he may very well be good enough. The WBC ordered Jaime Munguia versus Sergei Derevyanchenko as a final eliminator to determine the mandatory for Charlo. That's a good little scrap. Derevyanchenko has had back-to-back losses, but yeah, he's in the WBC. I was thinking to myself, how did they do that? But then again, it's the WBC, so I mean, of course, rules. There you go. That's the WBC. That's the WBC for you. Liam Smith versus Jesse Vargas for next year. That's a good little fight. I would favour Liam Smith. Did I say Liam Williams? I hope I didn't say Liam Williams. I would favour Liam Smith in that fight personally. I would. The kind of big talking news was this week was Canelo Alvarez potentially in his next fight, seeming likely that he's going to face Ilunga Makabu for the WBC Cruiserweight title, make him a 5-weight world champion. You know what, right? I have to say, it is kind of funny when you speak to casuals about things. Because I was with some of my friends on Friday, and they're all casuals. They know Canelo. And one of my mates was like to me, come here. Tell me this. I know why Canelo's going up to Cruiserweight. And I said, why? He's got, 4 weight division titles. I said, yeah. He wants to be like Pacquiao and be an 8 division world champion. I'm like, there's only 2 more divisions after light heavyweight. Cruiserweight is one, heavyweight's the other. Well, then how could he be an 8-weight world champion? I'm like, he can't. He never said he was going to. I mean, like, I don't understand the mind. It does be funny when people look at, and then it's kind of that kind of moment where it's like, oh wait, I'm like, yeah. So in order for him to be an 8-weight world champion, he'd have to lose about 50 pounds, basically. So that ain't gonna happen. But yeah, in terms of him against Makabu, Canelo is leagues better. He is. But there does come a point where size does become a factor. Would it be a factor against Makabu? I said it before, he's not the biggest cruiserweight in the world. It's not like fighting in a collie. But saying that, it's an interesting one. I would pick Canelo, definitely. Do I think he'll stop Makabu? No, I don't. I mean, Makabu, yeah, he was ironed out by Bellew. He's got a good chin, though. And those shots from Bellew couldn't have landed any cleaner. He has a good chin. If a man can take shots from Dmitry Kudryashov and still stand, he's got a good chin. And he did take big shots from Kudryashov. He was rocked a couple of times, but he stayed standing. If he can take them shots, he's got a good chin, in my opinion. So Canelo was probably not good. I'm serious, Canelo, I'd be amazed if Canelo stops him. I'd be very surprised. I don't think maybe to the body, but certainly not to the head. Canelo's not feather fisted. Definitely not. But as I said, you're taking shots off Kudryashov and standing up. Chances are you'll be able to take Canelo shots. So Canelo will probably, if he does get rid of him, it'd probably be body shots. Or maybe an accumulation or cuts or something like that. So that's kind of it. That's the week in a nutshell. And I've been talking for nearly 40 minutes because I've been looking at the time on my phone the whole time. So I'm going to cut this short. And I didn't want to do it for 40 minutes. I want to do like a 25-minute one. But when you get talking and you get drinking your Lucozade, which I've now moved to over there, so I can't reach. I want to get a drink of it now. So I'm going to go and have a drink at that and finish this video off, editing it. So for now, lads and lassies, I'll talk to you. Hope you have a great week. We get some off. Hopefully we all get some good news this week. We need it. We all need it. Wishing nothing but good things on everyone this week. So lads and lassies, I'll talk to you. Smash the like button if you did. Subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. Hit the all notifications bell. Help your boy out if you could and do that. For now, peace.